Center based in the US.
Thanks. If you're okay with it, I'd rather stand. We're Tibet third pole, but this third pole here sort of bothers me. I also feel like I'm sort of sitting in a pool looking up at you. I've said twice already, I'm going to say a third time and a 33rd time that the science is clear. One thing I heard in Barcelona in the preparatory conferences to the COP15 here in Copenhagen was a really telling phrase. We need more data, but we do have enough evidence. Scientists want more data. They want more precision in understanding so they can have a better understanding of how to shape policy. That's true everywhere on the planet. It's especially true with the Tibetan Plateau. So we have this consensus of the science related to how climate change is affecting the Tibetan Plateau and its ecosystem services, the resources that people rely on. Those are numerous. The most important is twofold. It relates to water resources and to the health of the grasslands, because as my colleague pointed out, an overwhelming majority of the Tibetan Plateau is grassland in its vegetation composition. I want to shift gears a little bit because there's another dimension to this story that needs to be told, and that is China's incredible and still continuing development in the last 30 years since the opening up in 1979. China's policies have included the phrase develop first, clean up second. And the environmental consequences of this policy of genuinely and importantly providing development for the Chinese people, 1.3 billion, a huge task. But the consequences of that development have meant pollution, water pollution, air pollution to be sure, but we're going to focus on water pollution. Something on the order of 70% of China's rivers, lakes, reservoirs, and groundwater is polluted, and polluted badly. Agricultural runoff, industry are the culprits in this. So China has this water crisis. Its economy is still growing, its population is still growing, turning this crisis into a looming catastrophe. China's solution to this is up on the Tibetan Plateau, and I think I can think of no better way to sum up that solution in this way. Everybody outside of China refers to the Tibetan Plateau as Asia's water tower. In China, they speak about it as China's #1 water tower. The difference in a national sense, in a sovereignty sense, versus a regional shared resource is significant for all of us and for the policy consequences of how what is about to happen and currently happening in Tibet. So China has this water crisis. To solve it, it needs to do two things. One is it needs to solve the water quantity crisis, water supply. China has on the books, in planning stages, in building stages, and already completed, plans to build approximately 100 large dams across the Tibetan Plateau and in the eastern borderlands region between the edge of the Tibetan Plateau and lower land China. In addition to those dams, you've captured water, now you have to move it because the only two major rivers of something on the order of 10 major rivers start on the Tibetan Plateau and drain into Asia. The only major ones that drain into China are the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. China has besides its water pollution crisis, it's already a fairly dry region, exacerbating its water pollution and water supply needs. So China has plans to divert water from these dams. This is a huge engineering challenge, unlike human civilization has ever imagined, never mind implemented. There is no guarantee that they will achieve this, and I would not want to be a Chinese planner in the national government and go to my bosses one day and say, these diversions are not going to work. We need another source of water. There aren't any others for China. Now, that's China's water quantity problem. China's water quality problem, according to China, is rooted again on the grasslands of Tibet. Their goal is to do broad landscape scale conservation of the grasslands. China's model for conservation is conservation, no humans. It's an old model. The idea of a national park can't have humans because it's pristine. China's been using that word pristine and harmony in characterizing what their goals are for these areas. An area the size of Western Europe, a significant proportion of that Western Europe size is tilted towards China. So the majority of the lands of the Tibetan Plateau will be put under some form of conservation, and with that, the obligation in China's eyes to remove people from there. Now, we know for millennia, 4,000 years, say Chinese archaeologists, and 8,000 years, say other archaeologists, that there has been nomadism, pastoralism on the grasslands of Tibet. And we know that in those millennia, 4 to 8 millennia,